Hey, Coach. So today we wanted to talk about how NIL has changed recruiting and high school athletes. And then me and Maddox are going to interview and we're going to talk about this. And our first question is recruiting priorities. And before we get into NIL, can you start by telling us what you look for when you're recruiting high school wrestlers, um, and what makes an athlete stand out to you?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Thanks for having me today. Appreciate you guys and appreciate, doing these types of podcasts to get the word out about wrestling in different ways. So grateful for you guys. I think the first thing that when we're looking for uh, a high school athlete or, even a transfer college athlete is, you know, have they done the things that it takes to get on our radar? Like the reality is we can talk about character and we can talk about the things that are the most important, but if you're not winning the matches and competing at a high level, like those things aren't they're more important, but you have to be able to win. You have to be able to have success, and everybody wants to work hard. Everybody wants to be a good person. Everybody wants to, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the first thing is there has to be the success that lines up with what we're looking for, right? And then we can kind of start filtering through our important list of like, hey, what type of person is he? What are his grades? How does he handle adversity? Let's look at some of his track record. You got to do the things that it takes to get on the radar.
Thank you. Our next question is, how important are things like attitude, work ethic, and academic compared to just winning matches?
Yeah, well, I think those are the things that make the difference, right? So, kind of like I said, like there's people who don't work hard that can win. There's people who don't have a good attitude that can win. So, we see that marker that they're being successful, and then we're like, okay, why are they being successful? And those types of things are the things that make or break an athlete, that push an athlete through the end. This sport is a lot of times just becomes of who can outlast longer, right? And it's not always just about the best skill or the best technique, but who has the ability to outlast. And those things that you're talking about, attitude, character, those are the things that bring longevity and bring life to an athlete. And those are usually things that come out in the wash that are leading these athletes to be successful.
Thank you. Now we're going to shift more towards the NIL side. And for those who listen to this and don't fully understand it, can you explain what NIL is and how it affects college recruiting and college athletes?
Yeah, so this has kind of become a muddy subject because the reality is that it seems like pay for play, right? And there's a real reality that athletes are just getting paid to compete. But NIL is name, image, likeness, and you have traditional NIL, which the landscape has changed since revenue share. So there was a big lawsuit in the NCAA that now says, amongst a lot of other things, that you need to share the revenue with student athletes. So there's really two forms to pay student athletes as in the most simple form. One is revenue share. That is revenue that is shared from the university directly to the athlete, right? So if I say I have athlete one and I want to pay him $10,000 and we participate in revenue share, I can pay him $10,000 from the university. That's one way to do it, right? The second way would be NIL Go, which is your traditional name, image, and likeness. Now, NIL that has to be submitted through the NCAA through a program called NIL Go is there's a process. Let's say because of your name, image, and likeness, a local car dealership wants to essentially use your name, image, and likeness and pay you for it. They have to submit the proposal through NIL Go, and the NCAA then determines whether or not you're worth that amount. So if that car dealership says we want to pay you $50,000 and here's the work that's going to be done for it. Here's how we're going to use his name, image, and likeness. Um, then the NCAA through NIL Go will say, will come back and say, okay, we evaluated this. We think this offer is actually only worth $30,000. So that's the most that you can take from from traditional NIL. So traditional NIL is definitely changed with the kind of the authentication factor of the NCAA telling you what you're worth. Revenue share is very simple. If your school has given you $100,000 and you want to give it to one athlete, then you can. So that is where that is the distinct, most simplest way to put the difference between NIL and revenue share and what NIL is. You're being paid for your name, image, and likeness.
Thank you. And our next question is, do you ever see athletes choosing schools more for the NIL deals or for the right fit of the athlete or academic goal?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think there's always going to be a good mixture of both. Um, I think a lot of athletes deep down want to choose the right place for themselves and the right fit. But the reality is, school's financially hard to navigate with how expensive that it's gotten, um, especially if you're not in one of those majors that is very, if you're not going to be a doctor, if you're not going to be a lawyer, if you're not going to be an engineer of some sort, and I'm sure there's a few other ones, but it's really hard to justify paying $60,000 to go to school to get I'm not knocking this major, but a communications major to go be a wrestling coach, right? So I think a lot of people start off with the right path and they want to make the decision about the right fit, but in the end, financially, people have to make decisions on what's best for them, and I think that ultimately trumps a lot of people's decisions.
Thank you. And then our next question is going to be more about the NIL and how it's realistic. And wrestling obviously doesn't have the same amount of money and big scholarships as football or basketball or baseball, the bigger sports. And what kind of NIL opportunities are more realistic for college wrestlers?
Yeah, so I think when you're looking, this is a really, really good question. This is what I would advise every single parent to ask on behalf of their child or grandparent or aunt or uncle, whoever's representing that student athlete, is does your school participate in revenue share for wrestling, or does it participate in NIL uh, only, right? Because those are two different questions. Those show the investment into the sport for that university, right? So I would say there's a lot of universities that have fully invested into wrestling, ours being one of them. And so we do have the opportunity for big numbers. We do have the opportunity for big scholarships, but not every school is afforded that same opportunity. So um, I I know that's not a direct answer to your question, but it is the first step in trying to figure out what that school can offer, right? Okay, does your school offer, you know, or how many scholarships does your school have now? Does your school participate in revenue share? That helps get you in the right direction. So, what are the opportunities in wrestling? Well, um, if your school participates in revenue share, there's probably a good opportunity for a full scholarship, and an opportunity to earn money based on how you compete, right? In the value that you're going to bring to the team. I would say that if your school does not offer revenue share, you will be in a position to potentially get a full scholarship, depending on how many scholarships that school is sponsored with. And then you would have to use your name, image, and likeness to work and build the brand to be able to make money that way through the traditional NIL go. So there's two answers to your questions, and I feel like one's revenue share and one's NIL. One is there's a lot of opportunity, and the other one is there's opportunity, but you're going to have to do your part to really, really create it to make it happen for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, what advice would you give to high school wrestlers who want to build their personal brand in a way that helps them both on and off the mat?
Well, I think the best thing you can do is go win. You can go be successful. Everybody wants to follow a winner. It doesn't matter whether that, that's right or wrong or viewed as negative or positive. Like that's just the real reality of our world. Number two is you guys have the resources at your fingertips to you're used to posting, you're used to following, you're used to being on platforms that promote yourself. And you can use that to promote yourself and create a brand, right? I would say that you would really want to create an identity in who you are and grow the brand off that so that it's natural, it's not forced, it's not fake. It's something just based on who you are and what your life is like. And I think that's a great place to start. And then you have a lot of tools, whether it be AI or other online platforms that can help you generate and auto generate lots of content and with very little barrier to entry. So I would say that take advantage of the free resources around you, really tell a story about who you are, and consistently over time communicate clearly and effectively and simply what you're trying to tell people about.
Thank you. Our next question is more about like the team side and how NIL affects your team. And how do you manage NIL within your program, your team? And how do you make sure it doesn't affect the chemistry of your team or the focus and the culture?
Well, I think we're all navigating this. I don't think there's a good answer yet, right? Like we're still in the beginning of what NIL is and how it's going to affect our team, but I think it's really merit based. You can say it however, people can dress it up however they want, but the better you do, the more resources you're going to get. One thing you're starting to see that is kind of contrary to that is that sometimes the market dictates a different number than maybe what that person's worth. Like I'll give you an example. Like you have a national qualifier. Well, someone might have a much stronger need for a national qualifier than someone else. So someone might pay a lot more money to get that national qualifier than you might. And so while we do try to do our best to be merit based, the reality is sometimes the market dictates what it does, and you either participate or you don't win that recruiting battle.
Thank you. And now we're gonna go to like the education and responsibility. Do college programs provide guidance to help athletes understand contracts, taxes, and the business side of NIL?
Well, I can't speak to other universities. I don't know what they do. Excuse me. But I can speak to what we do. So we part of our agreements are that we verbally agree to you using a financial advisor for to help make your decisions with what you're going to do with your revenue share here at Little Rock. So that financial advisor will do what he would do with any client. He'll advise him on taxes, on tax shelters, how to set up LLCs, how to set if they want to set up like potentially a Roth IRA or some sort of life insurance plan, um, some sort of investment. They advise them on all of that. They tell them that, hey, this is the best way to invest your money to grow it over time. And we just require that if we are verbally, we agree that you're going to meet with a financial advisor and have that conversation. We want them to be responsible. We want them to leave here with a plan financially of how they're going to support their future. Our goal is not for us to give you a bunch of money and you go buy a brand new car and the value of what you just had goes down drastically the minute you drive off the lot. And I think that's everyone's first instinct is I'm going to get a truck. I'm going to get this, specific type of car. And we want them to be educated on how to create wealth, not just to be necessarily rich in the moment.
Thank you. And then our last question is looking ahead in the future, where do you see NIL heading in the next few years? And what should young wrestlers, even high school wrestlers, be doing now to prepare for that?
Well, I think the landscape of our sport's going to dictate that, depending on how many schools continue to participate in revenue share. Um, that's really something that we're all asking each other, like, hey, where's this going to go? I see traditional NIL going in the route of you really need to, as a young athlete, continue to build your brand right now. if you're able to show that you're worth, $150,000 a year through NIL, you're alleviating a burden to the school. You're creating a value for yourself, and it's truly being paid for your name, image, and likeness. And so I would encourage young athletes to start figuring out how they're going to build their brand. You know, the question is not how much are you going to pay me? The question should be, how can I show you that I'm going to build value or bring value to your program? And as far as revenue share goes, I think that um, put football aside, put basketball aside, I think that it'll continue to separate schools as far as how they operate, and athletes will be able to kind of, negotiate a contract essentially up front of what they think they're worth, and the merit or the criteria that increases as they accomplish those criteria. So I think that revenue share is the future for us and the future for several schools. And for those that maybe you don't know where you're going to fall, build your brand just in case that you can bring your own name, your own image, and your own likeness to the market, and you can show your value.
Thank you, Coach Erisman, for sharing your insight on how recruiting and NIL are shaping college wrestling. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time. It's good to see you guys here in Arkansas doing your thing and competing and doing podcasts. So keep it up.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right.
Thank you.
See ya. Hold on. Don't end it. Don't end it. Don't end it.
Hello?
Dad.
That was good. Good
That was
job.
great.